Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you a little bit positive and not the good kind. Jarad, how are you?
Just a little bit positive, yes. Coming to the end of my isolation period. Yeah, the Rona caught me, and well, I caught it, and yeah, it's been pretty mild, mate. It's I felt a bit weird on one day, like I felt like I had a little bit of a hangover, which was a bit annoying because I didn't have the good night before. But but yeah, other than that, a little bit nasally, but yeah, nothing too major. I'm one of the lucky ones, mate. I know people have had it pretty bad, and it's obviously done some damage. But yeah, it's been pretty mild for me, so I'm happy about that.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, you basically passed it and it's not been a big deal for you.
Yeah, pretty much a day left. So yeah, back out in the real world soon.
It's actually triggered a thought. And I just remember the early days when people would get it or would be forced into isolation, how rough isolation was at the time and just how much support you needed from other people dropping off groceries for you. And it just made me think about, gosh, it would have been nice to have good neighbors around you. If you were somebody who lived in a neighborhood where you didn't know anybody or you just didn't have good relationships with the same people, with the people in your building, that would have been a really rough time.
Yeah, look, I think it still is, but definitely, in the early days, the isolation was a longer period, and everyone was freaking out. Yeah, everyone's still fearful of Rona, but the actual everyone understands a little bit better now. And if somebody had coronavirus, a year and a half ago, it was like stay away from them for a month. What about these people if they didn't have a good, even if they had good neighbors or good family around, they're still scared to come around. So it really does make you think about isolation. It really is isolation. But yeah, look, that actually, yeah, the thought I had about neighbors, I mean, and friends and family around, and people in general, like, neighbors are your first port of call when you need something. Sometimes they're the ones, they're your they call it neighborhood watch for a reason. I mean, they're the ones that the sort of, if you're not around, they notice if something happens. But that's really if you've got a good relationship with your neighbors, yeah. Because if you've got a rough, yeah, I mean, you can't pick your neighbors either. But if you've got a rough relationship with them, and things can go really sour.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right about not being able to pick them either. Like you can pick your friends. You can, I can't quite pick your family, but at least you can pick who you bring into your family later on in your life. But
Yeah.
neighbors, it's really just this random distribution of people, and you just get plonked in the middle of somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, and it's I'm very lucky. I've got good neighbours, and I've always had good neighbours. I've moved house several times. So yeah, I count my blessings because I've seen, like, through my previous employment, I've seen neighbourly disputes at their worst.
Yeah.
And trust me, if you can choose not to go down that path, you don't, because it
Yeah.
just, you know, it's a respect thing, I think. Like, it's, yes, you're living. I mean, I'm not in a complex of any sort. I'm not in an apartment building, or I'm not in any kind of like shared environment in that regard. But we share a fence. We share, so you do live in close quarters with these people. But I know there's a lot of people that live in closer quarters, and the little things can turn into massive things if you don't have that respect there, and of each other, and even respect of all things, privacy, respect of the way people choose to live their life. Like, it's none of your business, but you need to respect it, though. Yeah.
Agree 100%. And
Mm,
I, I'm thinking more in terms of, I mean, I get what you're saying with neighbors, as in literal neighbors, people living in the same neighborhood, but anyone you
yeah.
come up against in life or come up, sharing the same space in one sense or another is a neighbor for that moment, whether it's at work, whether it's on a train, whatever it
Yeah.
is, we are sharing space with other people. And this is something
Yeah.
that I've thought about a lot since I was in my early 20s about you walk around and you've got this footprint, and how much of your footprint intersects with someone else's, and how much of a trail do you leave behind? How much do you interrupt someone else's bubble? And, it's made me really conscious as an adult. What do I actually put out there in this world? Because you can really disturb, an entire, you can hurt a whole, a lot of people. You can disturb so many other people by just with the energy you put out there, or you can just be contributing to their positive life.
Look, that's a good point, and it's definitely something I've thought of as well. Like you are somebody's neighbour, even if you're just walking next to them to get to the next train, or sitting next to them on the airplane, and all that sort of and the things you've said. And I guess what you said about, correct me if I'm wrong, but you worrying about or being concerned about what footprint you leave on someone else's life. I mean, I guess I'd have to say I do have that thought, but that's where respect comes into it. Like, you don't know what effect, you might be just walking to the shop to grab yourself a sandwich and walking back to your office, for example. But if you walked into someone's path and they didn't respect the way that you did something, and that's kind of on them, like, so everyone's got to respect everybody, love everybody from that's from the film Semi-Pro, but
Okay.
but everyone needs, sorry, I just and to me it's like, you've got to be aware of it as you, but also you've also got to be aware that you can't make everyone happy. Like, there's some things that's got to be on the actual person who's feeling that. And because I think if you try and impress, that's the wrong word, but try and make sure that everyone's happy, I don't think that's possible in the real world. I want, be aware and be respectful, but don't put yourself in a bad situation or a bad state of mind worrying about some things that you probably can't fix. Just respect the people around you. I think that's the best way.
Yeah, I think that's definitely it, Jarad. We can't worry about impressing people, especially if it's a random fleeting event like, catching a train with someone.
Yeah.
But we definitely don't need to, push into someone else's space, especially their mental space. I just want to share an example of, last time I can recall disrespecting someone, and I felt really bad about this. So look, I don't know about you, Jarad, but when I shop at Aldi, I feel a lot of pressure, right? These checkout guys and gals, they're so fast. So anyway, I was there with my noise cancelling headphones in once, and before I knew it, I was at the head of the line. Like, I was so deep. I was like, 4 deep, and the guy was so quick, and I was like, oh no, it's my turn now. And I just didn't have time to adjust, and I was a bit flustered. So he served me, and the whole transaction was done with me not listening because I, had my headphones in. And the thing is, I left an item behind because I had noise cancelling headphones in. I didn't hear him. I left the shop. He came out to the escalator, tapped me on the shoulder to give me the item I left behind. And I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Like, how disrespectful is that? Not only did I have headphones in while being served by somebody in customer service, but he had to go out of his way because of my rudeness. And I was like, oh, never again. But I can't make any excuses to say, but he was too fast for me. It was wrong. What I did was wrong. I wholly admit that it was me. So I'm really, really sorry about that.
I'm going to make you feel worse. He would have been shouting to, like, excuse me, all the way because you had your headphones on. He had to get to the point where he had to tap you on the shoulder.
Exactly. And I held up the line because obviously if he's chasing me, other people in the queue aren't getting served.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy. I felt so terrible.
And it's one error. It's one error of wearing your headphones just too long. And it just happened a bit quicker, and then you got all flustered, and you think about what those other people in the line. I don't want to make you feel worse. Sorry.
No, go for it. This is the snowball effect.
Yeah, you are not an arrogant or person who worries, you're actually the opposite of that. Like, you are concerned about people's feelings and how you portray yourself, and that whole interaction would have looked pretty average for the third person in the line. Like, they would have been like, well, this guy in his headphones doesn't even talk. then he takes off. He doesn't even answer. Like, you know, the guy had to chase him. Like, and
Yeah,
it's
totally.
completely, excuse me, it's completely, you know, because of one little error or one little thing of judgment. Like, oh, I should have taken those headphones out just a bit earlier. But, you know, the guy was too good at his job. But yeah, you should. Yeah, but that's how things can snowball. Yeah, that's what you said. You know, like, so that third person or fourth person in line probably doesn't think you're a nice guy. But you know, that's a shame. That's a shame. But that's my point, I guess. Yeah. You've kind of wrapped up my point. In you've got to be. Some things are out of your control, though. You know, like by no means were you meaning to be disrespectful, and it just happened like that. And I'm sure I've done that many times, unbeknownst to me. Is that a word?
Yeah.
But, I took a gamble there and said it. And I realised I'm being recorded. But unknown to me, like I could have been completely disrespectful to people without even having a thought about it, and that even makes you feel a little bit uneasy.
Yeah, totally. But you know, look, I think the best way to address these things is you've got to put your hand up and just say, yep, that was me, I'm sorry, and then you can move on. Really, the worst thing you can do is get defensive and go, oh well, it was because of this and that, or I was having a bad day. Well, you know, look, we get it, but it is very important to acknowledge that, hey, you know what, I did something wrong there, and I totally put my hand up and say that was all on me. You know, that shouldn't have happened. But I've moved on, of course. You know, I haven't let this traumatize me in any way. But, you know, the point is you leave a trail of energy behind wherever you go. Yeah. And that was a real impression for people. And like you said, they would have been like, oh, God, look at this guy, you know, some entitled guy just, you know, walks around thinking he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to, like, you've done the right thing, though. Like, you put your hand up and apologized or said, you know, sorry, that was on me. So you've made your I mean, you're not going to run back to Audi and announce over the microphone that, you know, like that's not realistic, but you've done everything that you can so you can move on as a person. So, you know, you've done it to the person when he tapped you on the shoulder and you apologized, and then you would have done it at home and made your peace with it, you know, whether it took 5 minutes or, you know, 5 seconds, whatever, you've made your peace with that event. But, you know, you've done everything you can to move on with your life. So that's important. So that's good. I mean, I know it's only a small thing. It's an Audi line and people will go through a lot worse, but that's the general, I guess, checklist of how to get over things. Yeah. Like, you know, forgive yourself, apologize and move on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you were joking about, you know, that I didn't get on the Audi microphone and, you know, make a big public announcement to everyone, but people do the equivalent of that sometimes, you know, that they feel so bad about something that they go too far in their apology, or they feel too much guilt, for, you know, a disproportionate amount of guilt and, you know, self-correction for what they've actually done. And it's really important to forgive yourself. And I think we're so much harder on ourselves than we are on other people. I don't know about you, but I'd never treat anybody the way I treat myself. That's for sure.
Yeah, look, we are hard on ourselves, and that's you know, that's part of the process. I mean, some might not be, but I guess it's just, like if you can find that balance of, you know, being, again, it's just being respectful to everybody and respectful to yourself. And if you feel bad about something, well, make amends by doing those little things. Don't go overboard. Yeah. But yeah, we've kind of branched into a different sort of thing there. But I suppose it's dealing with all our neighbours that we come up against, not against, but yeah, we come in contact with.
Well, it's the same thing with respect, you know, with wherever you are, and we're talking about, you know, neighbours and just whoever's close to you is your neighbour at that moment. But it just makes me think about when people just move into a new place. It's one of the most stressful times. You know, you've got removals trucks. It could be raining. All sorts of things are going on. Like, especially lately, you know, with anyone who's moving house at the moment, it must be a real nightmare. I can only imagine the impression you're giving to your new neighbours now. You know, when you're angry, you know, when you're so frustrated, when, you know, things are going wrong, when they see you for the first time and you're there tearing your hair out. So, you know, first impressions last, as they say, but it's, geez, I think we've got to be really more forgiving of each other in those circumstances, don't we?
I think when moving in, the first impressions should be the second impressions. You know, the second time you see them when they're finally relaxed, and let go of all the stress of, and that's the end of it, isn't it? Like you're finally at your place, your new place. And after all the rubbish that went on, packing and, the weeks of packing and the searching for a property and whatever, wow, that's kind of the full stop. You definitely need to worry about that first impression of the new neighbours. If you start screaming or park your car over their driveway or drive up their grass by accident, like how many little things like that can happen, like, and start the process off on a bad foot.
Yeah.
It's important though, like I said earlier, like I've seen some really, really, really bad things that snowball, but it can start with something as small as the dog barked for 10 minutes on a Saturday morning, and it ends in some kind of modern warfare. It can be crazy. So yeah, be nice.
All right, Jarad, what about if your neighbour really is different to you, and I guess let's just say you find them quite offensive?
Yeah.
Not that you necessarily have any interactions with them, but let's just say you found out your next door neighbor was the head of the KKK chapter in, your suburb, or even an underling. It doesn't really matter if they're a member. What do you do then? I mean, you can't, let's just say they're a model neighbor. Dog doesn't bark at all. Cat stays indoors, all the good stuff. Their garbage is always put out properly and they never do anything wrong. Their recycling is correct. But, they are, a member of the KKK, but they're the most polite member of the KKK. What do you do then? How do you feel about that, Jarad?
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because, the moral dilemma that you have to go through, obviously what they represent and what they believe in is incorrect. And that word incorrect doesn't do it justice. But let's just say, I'm just trying to put a diplomatic view on it. Like you just said, they're a model neighbor when it comes to, noise, when it comes to politeness to you, when it comes to all that sort of thing. So, I mean, go back to your situation where, you walk past someone on the street and they become your neighbor for that 2 seconds. You don't know what they do or judge what they do. You just want to make sure that they don't bump into you. That's, that's kind of your interaction with that neighbor. So your neighbor's doing the right thing by you and living harmoniously. You don't support what they do, but let's be honest, they might not support what you do. So as long as you guys can be, respectful to each other, I keep saying that word, but if you guys are respectful to each other and you do the right thing as neighbors, you can't sort of, do anything. But if they have, parties with all those people turning up and creating issues and damaging and noise, and that's a different story. But
they don't do any of that, Jarad. They're the model neighbor.
See, that's what I mean. All that is okay. You're okay then. I think, it's a really tough dilemma for me to say it's okay, but it's okay. Like it's not okay. I just want to point that out. But it's okay that they have their own interests.
Interests. That's a euphemism if ever I've heard one.
Yeah. And again, I feel like this, like anyway. Go.
Look, Jarad, I deliberately threw a curly one at you because the truth is you don't know what's going on in anyone's head. You don't know what beliefs anybody has. And the thing is, we live next to people in this randomly distributed pattern. So you don't know who you're going to end up next to. What are you going to do? Are you going to wage, crimes against thought? Are we going to make it a thought crime now to be a bigot? And, as reprehensible as these beliefs are, what can you actually do about it? And I just wanted to see, how you felt about it. What, if you lived next door to somebody like that. But I think the mature thing, like you said, it comes down to respect. And it's really, as long as you're not doing anything to hurt someone else in your little bubble, you're free to do whatever you want in your head. And that can be pretty unfortunate. But it's pretty immature to think that we can make other people think quote unquote good thoughts, or that everyone should have quote unquote good thoughts.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a messy world. And, I think, they say good fences make good neighbours. And yeah, that's it. And and those fences should be also the things that, fence in our behaviors as well. Like, as long as you've got some sort of restraint, and if, I have my beliefs that, for example, I'm vegetarian, but, it doesn't mean my neighbor eats meat, I'm going to, go knock over their barbecue or something, become a terrorist. It is about respect, and it's about having the maturity to understand that, wow, everyone on this planet is different. 7 billion people are different.
Yeah. I think you asked that question to watch me squirm. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, you're able to sum up my ramblings pretty well, that, that you can't change people's thought process. And like you said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like,
exactly.
You're not, there's nothing you can do about, you can't, like, it's not even immature to think it. It's actually, what makes you think you can change anyone's thought process? Like that, we talked about opinions last time, like, does it really matter what your opinion is? Like, you just got to, that's the way they're going to think about what you're, if you come over there and go, no, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. Well, it's don't waste your time, don't waste your energy. Just concentrate on being good yourself.
Yeah, I think so. And look, when someone's got such strong views on something, now we've gone back to opinions, but yes. If someone's got such strong views on something and you're pushing against them, they're not the kind of person to just let you push without pushing back. That's just how it is with that type of person. Someone else who doesn't have a strong opinion about something says, oh, maybe we should do it like this. If you push hard against that sort of person, well, then there's a chance they may relent. Whereas someone who's already got a really strong view, you push against them, they'll just come straight back at you. So it's futile anyway. Yeah. And I guess
they're going to go, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But in a neighbourly situation, with that sort of person, sometimes the best thing is just kindness. Sometimes the best way to deal with something is kindness, no pushing, nothing don't give someone anything to fight against. You give them something that they can come to. And that's how I feel about it. And I've had, some neighbourly situations which, were suboptimal. And, we've gone out of our way. We had a noise complaint with our neighbour downstairs because we've got small children. And they would like to run through our unit. And, she'd tell us, tell them not to run, as if small children are going to remember that. And anyway, we went out of our way. We put jigsaw mounts over our entire unit. Now, I don't know how many people would go that far for their neighbour, but we did because we're respectful people. And that curbed the noise complaints. And now we've got a 3-year-old child that lives above us, and, she runs around. They've got floorboards up there. Yeah. And to be honest, I love it. I love the sound of children running around having fun. Yeah. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that shows the difference in society. Like everyone's different, and what they find enjoyable or acceptable or whatever is all different, and the fact that there's a 3-year-old kid running around above you in the unit above you, that's to me that again, I'm not experiencing that, but that to me is joyous in a certain way. Like the kid's just having fun. So be it. But if you were, if you had, issues sleeping and you needed to sleep at certain times or health issues or whatever, the last thing you want to hear is people running around and when you're trying to, so that you've done everything. Like it's funny because you're right in the middle. So the noise complaint has come from below and you've done everything you can to fix that, or at least make it better. And then, you're now copying that same issue and, you respect them above you as well. It's good. And I mean, that again, we've said respect a lot in this episode. So it shows that, you can get a long way. It doesn't have to become anything huge. It just, some people have to just accept that, okay, I'll do this to fix this. And they accept that you've fixed it. So, that's awesome. That's a good story.
Well, the woman who did complain about our noise, she died last year, so
Oh,
no more complaints.
That's not that much of a good story. Wow.
She was like 91, so it was a good innings.
Oh man, yeah, right, yeah. So, well, maybe noise replace.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I mean, I'm not laughing that she's dead. It's just a strange ending to this episode. That's all.
Does it have to end on that?
No, we can't end on that. No.
Oh my goodness. I've gone crazy in isolation. I'm sorry.
Look, I'm really lucky. I've got an awesome complex. I've got an awesome building that I live in. Everyone's, great, and we all know each other on a first name basis, which is really good. And I hope that neighbourly love becomes a thing again.
Yeah. I think this last few years has helped that. I think neighbourly love, people have been stuck, and you think about the things that have been put on us for the last 2 years about restrictions, about kilometres, so some people, all they've had is to put their head over the fence and say hello, or go for a swim in their neighbour's pool, or, go for a walk with them, because it's kind of the only interaction some people have had. So,
yeah,
silver lining of some of this stuff that's been happening is maybe neighbourly love is returning a little bit, and a little bit of pride in how those relationships happen, because for years prior everyone's been kind of blinkers on and minding their own business to a certain degree, but also like not even noticing if the car alarm's going off next door, or or if somebody's walked up the stairs that shouldn't be walking up the stairs. Now people are a bit more aware. I think that's cool. That's good.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. And look, there's a term that I heard of a few years ago that I'd never heard, which was intentional communities. And we don't really create communities so much anymore. So I hope that, this whole situation has caused people to go, you know what, we need to be with other people. It's very hard to make it on our own. Man is not an island, as they say. And yeah, hopefully, everyone can find their people. And hopefully, if you're lucky enough, you can find them really close to you.
That's right. Hopefully they're just over the fence.
Exactly. And look, hopefully all of you listeners have found your people in us. We really love your company and love being your neighbour, in your ears, whether it's your commute to work or you're going for a jog or whatever. So thank you so much for joining us. And please support us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all our socials. Hit us up personally if you've got our contact details. We love hearing from you, and we love doing this and just sharing a conversation with you and our neighbourly love. Thanks, Jarad.
Thanks, mate. See you later.